Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to continue on this drawing that we were working on last week. We met. We're drawing a dresser here, and we've already drawn the front of the dresser, the front elevation if you will. We've added some dimensions to it, and we've also created a viewport which shows the front elevation. So the next thing I want to do is create a side elevation. And what we're going to do here is we're going to project the top and bottom line over to the side. And the best way to do that is just simply start a line. Make sure your E-snap's turned on and your ortho. And we'll project from the top and the bottom. Next we're going to draw another line which will represent the back of the dresser. So now we have our back, our top and bottom. What I want to do is I want to trim these lines here. So we're going to use the trim command. And just left window everything. Hit return. And then select what you want to trim. And then hit escape to cancel the command. And remember to save your work. Next we want to figure out how deep do we want to make our dresser. Typically most dressers are going to be at least 16 inches deep. So let's go with that. We're going to copy the back line. Remember to hit cancel. And now we're going to trim these two lines. Save as you go. So now what we're looking at right now is the side view of the dresser. What I want to do is show the drawer fronts separately from the dresser. Now the drawer fronts are actually what's called an overlay. What that means is the drawers are actually covering the front of the dresser. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to project the height of the dresser drawers. So we're going to be drawing some lines. And just draw them out here. Remember to click and then hit return. And we could draw individual lines, or we could just copy this one. Okay, let's trim these lines here. Okay, so what we have here now is the top and bottom lines for each of the drawer fronts. So now we're going to create the front edge of the drawer fronts. Best way to do that is to take this line and copy it. And let's make them 3/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to type in 0.75, return, and then hit return again. And now we're going to trim the excess lines. Again, I can click on this button, or I can type in TR, return. And then just do a left window, hit return, and now I'm going to trim the excess lines. I could click on them one at a time, or I could just window Okay, now we have individual drawer fronts. This line here is an excess, so we need to trim that off. Okay, remember to save. Now we have individual drawer fronts. Now what I want to do is I want to take all these drawer fronts and I want to move them an eighth of an inch off the front face of the drawer of the cabinet. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a window, all the drawer fronts. When you do that, you should see all these blue dots here. And then we're going to do the move command. Make sure your ortho's turned on. Click anywhere on the screen and move your mouse to the right, and you'll see that your new geometry is moving with you. At this point, type in 1/8 of an inch or 0.125 and then return. What happened was we moved everything away from the cabinet. So our drawer fronts are now 1/8 of an inch off of the face of the cabinet. You don't want your drawer fronts hitting the cabinet case, because every time you close your drawers, it's going to make a loud sound. So we don't have a line here, so the best way to cure that is to just copy this one. Okay, now our drawer fronts have a front and back edge. Remember to save. Okay, now one thing you'll notice is our drawer fronts are right up against each other. So we need to create what's called a split. A split is the distance between each individual drawer front. And the best way to do that is what we're going to do is we're going to offset this line in both directions. This button right here, which is offset. So click on that and then you follow the directions on the bottom of the screen. It's asking you for a distance. What we want is a total distance of 1/8 of an inch in between each drawer front. So we're going to take this line and offset it 1/16 of an inch in both directions. So we'll type in 0.0625. Remember when I said a while ago that it's important to know the decimal system? This is why. We'll type in 0.0625 and then hit enter. Now it's asking you to specify the source. What that means is they want you to click on something that you're offsetting. I'm going to click on this line and then I'm going to move my cursor down. I'm going to hit return. And I'm going to hit return again. And then it's asking you for a distance. We already typed in 0.0625. So just hit return again. Now it's asking you to select the source. And then you hit escape. So now we have 2 copies of this line. Next thing you want to do is delete this line. And now we need to trim this line here and this line. Hit return. Hit escape. So now we have 2 drawer fronts with 1/8 of an inch gap in between the 2 of them. That will allow you to open this drawer without interfering with this one. So now we're just going to repeat what we just did here to the remaining splits. Offset, specify distance, we've already entered it, so all we got to do is hit return. I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to explain each step. Since I've already done the offset, I'm going to click offset. We've already specified our distance, so all I got to do is hit with spacebar or return. And then hit escape. Delete the original line. And now we're going to trim. Left window. Return. And hit escape. It's that simple. I'm going to do it one more time. Well, actually, I'm going to do it 3 more times. So, offset. Hit return. Specify my source. Erase the original. Trim the excess. Left window. Return. Click. Click. Escape. Repeat the offset. Erase. Trim. Remember to hit return. Now select what you want to trim. Hit escape. Alright, one more. Remember to hit return at this point. Escape. Delete the original. Trim the excess line. Return. And then pick the lines you want to trim and hit escape. We now have individual drawer front with the necessary clearance so they don't rub against each other. Remember to save your work. Now let's add some dimensions here. Make sure your E-snap is turned on. Ortho does not need to be turned on at this point. We're going to do a dimension of the overall. And whenever you want to repeat a dimension command, hit return or spacebar. Here's an interesting point. I just dimensioned this drawer front. And let's say I want to move this thing out of the way. Let's say I don't like the way it looks. If you click on it, you see all these grips here. There's a lot of things you can do. If I click on this guy, I can move it in and out. I can also go up and down with it. This allows you to arrange your dimensions so that they're not too crowded and cramped together. I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to do another dimension. And you just keep hitting spacebar or return, and you can continue the dimension. You're probably noticing that the dimensions are getting awfully crowded. We're going to fix that in a minute. typically what I'll do is I'll apply all my dimensions and then I arrange them and fix them later on. Okay. Remember to save your work. So what we have here is a bunch of dimensions that are stacked together. Now sometimes your text will be a little bit too big to fit in between your dimensions. So what we got to do is we got to offset it, kind of like this guy here. We click on their dimension and grab a grip and move it. Okay, this looks kind of silly. So we got a couple of options here. One thing we can do is we can make the text a little smaller. Here's how we do that. I'm going to click on it until you see a bunch of blue grips. And then I'm going to right click anywhere in the drawing area. Click on Properties, and then this tab should show it. And it shows you everything you need to know about the entity that you've selected. What we want to do is reduce the height of the text in our dimension. You want to find this section here. And I'm looking for the text height, which is right here. And right now it's set at 1.5. So I'm going to click it until it's all highlighted. And I'm going to type in a smaller number. I'm going to go with 0.75. Once you do that, click anywhere in the drawing area. And what you're going to see is your dimension text shrunk. Now we could do that for each and every one of these, but we don't have to do that. Click on the Properties Painter. Click on the original that you want to copy. Every time you click on a dimension, it matches the original. When you're done, hit Escape. I'm going to go ahead and close this Properties dialog box. And now I'm going to rearrange these dimensions. The reason we did this is we've made this drawing easier to read and understand. When you have your dimension where you want it, just left click and then hit Escape. Don't forget to save your work. And I'm thinking that maybe we should take these dimensions and make them match these dimensions. So we're going to do the Properties Painter again. Select any one of these dimensions. And we're just going to shrink all these so that they all match. Remember to hit Escape. Let's take a look at the paper space and see what this drawing looks like. There you go. And I mentioned on the last time we got together, we had talked about setting up our paper space. I'm doing this again because I want to verify that we're doing a size D PDF. So the paper is going to be 24 inches by 36 inches in landscape configuration. This is going to give you an idea of what the drawing looks like right now. Since we didn't make any changes, we can go ahead and close. Let's zoom in here. You can always move a viewport by clicking on it and then selecting the move command. Click anywhere and we can move our viewport. Ignore this. We're missing a dimension here. We need a dimension of the width of these 4 drawer fronts. So I'm going to go back to model space. Also notice that we don't have any splits here in the drawer fronts. So it looks like we're going to have to do what we did before when we split these drawer fronts. So I'm going to go ahead and offset all these lines here. Just follow along with me. Don't forget to save. So now we have all these splits here. These dimensions are not going to be exactly perfect. So we got to change that. Click on the dimension and grab the grip. Make sure your E-snap is turned on. And there we go. Don't forget to save. Now let's check our paper space. Coming along pretty well, isn't it? Now let's create a viewport of that drawing that we just did. Double click inside of the viewport. You'll notice the viewport becomes bold. So now you can move things around just like you would in model space. I'm holding the center wheel and I'm able to move anything that's within the viewport. I can also turn the wheel and zoom in and out. And what I want to do at this point is I want to have this the same scale as this viewport. And while the viewport's active, come down here to where it says annotation, click on that arrow, and you can use your wheel to scroll up and down this list. I believe we made this viewport at 3 inches to 1. So we want this viewport to be the same scale. So select that. That looks about right. Don't worry that not everything's visible. We'll fix that in a minute. Before you do anything else, we need to deactivate this viewport. When the viewport window is bold like this, that means the viewport is active. So you can still move things around here. So to deactivate this viewport, you double click anywhere outside of the viewport. That's a double left click. Notice it's not bold anymore. And now we're back in paper space. One interesting thing to note, if I double click, this viewport is active. Let's say I want to go into this viewport and make a change. All you got to do is left click, and you can flip back and forth. Since I'm happy with this viewport, I'm going to double click outside of the viewport, and now we're back in paper space. Now generally when you're doing a drawing, you want your viewports to align, which means I want the top of my cabinets in both of these views to be perfectly aligned. And here's an easy way to do this. Make sure your E-snap is turned on and the ortho is turned on. Now we're going to draw a line. And I'm going to snap on any point here. I'm just going to draw a line straight up. You'll notice at the top of the cabinets are not aligned. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move this viewport so that they're aligned here. So you click on the viewport and then you want to move. You could type M return or come over here and click on that button. So it's asking me to specify a start point. I'm going to select here, click. You'll notice your viewport is moving. And I'm going to click right here. You'll notice it's snapping right on the intersection of the cabinet and the alignment line that we just drew. Zoom out. You'll notice at the top of the cabinet is now aligned. We can get rid of this line now. Okay. Now you can shrink or stretch a viewport by clicking on it, and then you have your grips show up. Sometimes the grips won't respond very well, and that's because eSnap is turned on. So if you turn it off, it gives you a little more freedom to make adjustments. Part of our dimension is not visible, so we need to stretch the viewport. When you're done making your modification, be sure to hit Escape. These dimensions are a little stretched out more than they need to be. So to fix that, we have to go back in model space. And let's move these dimensions a little closer to the cabinet. Remember, hit Escape. You can hit Escape or click anywhere. No, we need to hit Escape to make these blue dots disappear. Go back into paper space. Alright, so what we have here is two viewports showing the front of the cabinet and the side of the cabinet. What I want you guys to do is to practice dimensioning and adjusting your dimensions. Remember, to adjust the dimension, you click on it until the blue grips appear. And then you can just simply left click on a grip and you can move your dimension. When you are finished, either left click or hit Escape. Notice the blue grips are still on. Hit Escape. What you need to do is hit Escape until the blue dots disappear. So I'm going to leave you at this point to practice dimensioning and projecting geometry and doing offsets, trim, and delete. We're going to be wrapping up this class next week, the next week, and the following week. And we're going to finish off our drawing by labeling our views here. Until then, we'll see you then. Bye.